What do Elon Musk, Hewlett-Packard, and Joe Rogan all have in common? In the last year, they've all announced they're ditching California and moving to the same place, Texas. Since 2020, we've seen story after story of companies, celebrities, and regular people fleeing California. Some went to Hawaii, others Florida, but the place we've been hearing again and again is Texas. The big move might be surprising at first. After all, California is the land of promise, beautiful landscapes, beaches, mountains. It was the home of the gold rush and the Hollywood boom. Even just in the past 30 years, Silicon Valley has created unimaginable wealth and opportunity almost out of nothing. So why leave a state like that? And why go to Texas of all places? It's a bit different than California, to say the least. The culture, landscape, and government, wide open ranges of cattle ranches and oil wells, focused on an old school way of life, going to church, working with your hands, and touchdown! Lots of football, of course. More than anything though, Texans are known for their independent, self-reliant spirit. It's a far cry from the stereotypically image-conscious, highly regulated Californian. It's safe to say that Californians who head to Texas are going to be in for a bit of a culture shock. The question is though, with all these outsiders pouring into the Lone Star State, will Texas be able to maintain the qualities that made it so attractive in the first place? Texas is unlike any other state in the Union. When the land was still part of Mexico, Texans declared independence, forming their own country to escape restrictive government control. That spirit is now reflected throughout its culture, business practices, and government. The state collects zero income taxes, the legislature is only required to meet once every 2 years, and if you ask any native Texan, they'll probably have some strong words about the government getting involved in their business. You've probably heard the saying, everything's bigger in Texas. Well, it certainly rings true. Big trucks, big food, big cattle, big boots. If there's something worth making, it's worth making big. Recently, the cities in Texas have been following suit. Take Austin, for example, one of the fastest growing metropolitan areas over the last 10 years. Once known for the University of Texas Longhorns and Willie Nelson, today it's the home of a cutting-edge restaurant scene, a growing tech industry, and a litany of music, art, and film festivals. The food and nightlife on 6th Street became more and more like the Sunset Strip in LA or Valencia Street in San Francisco, rather than Central Texas. Companies like Apple, Tesla, Facebook, Oracle, and AT&T have all built large offices there. Some, like we said, have committed to permanently relocating their headquarters there. All of the growth in business and culture has led to Austin ranking as one of the 10 best cities to live and work, as well as one of America's coolest towns. With fame, beauty, wealth, and style, California was always the popular kid in school among the states. The land of opportunity where people went to make their dreams a reality. As the most heavily populated state, it's clear that a lot of people went chasing after their dreams. As Texas rises in the rankings, however, California's position as the top place to live has faded. The ambitious no longer move to Hollywood or Silicon Valley to get their start like they used to. Hollywood has become decentralized as film and TV productions have moved elsewhere around the country and abroad. Tax breaks in other states have made LA studios less and less relevant.
California isn't the only place making movie magic anymore.
All of these award-winning blockbusters weren't filmed in California, they were made here in Louisiana.
Many tech jobs that once required reporting into a Silicon Valley office can now be done remotely, a trend that was drastically accelerated by the pandemic of 2020. California's job magnet has weakened, and increasing government regulations have caused many businesses to turn away. In many cases, a business has to invest tens of thousands of dollars before they can even begin the long process of obtaining government approval. Farmers in California, the nation's largest agricultural producer, face ever-increasing control and environmental regulation on their equipment and practices. It's not just the job market or regulations that have made California less attractive in recent years. Some other, less than pleasant issues have also dropped on the scene.
The problem of human waste in the city is getting worse.
It's not uncommon to be walking around in any part of San Francisco and see a big pile of human feces.
New laws like Proposition 47 have dramatically changed life in California. Kamala Harris served as the state attorney general at the time it was passed, and she titled the new law the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. Now, under that law, crimes that used to lead to arrests are now classified as minor offenses. The consequences for felony drug possession and theft have been reduced dramatically as a result. This has led to fewer addicts getting help, increased homelessness, and a massive surge in crime. Take a look at these videos of drug use in public spaces and public transportation.
In April, this video went viral. Video of drug addicts shooting up in the Civic Center BART station as commuters walked by. Now, another series of videos emerging, all showing this unidentified person smoking meth. We've seen videos featuring the same person riding BART on 3 different days.
In one case, when an individual was recorded repeatedly smoking crack in public, police were powerless to intervene.
Okay, you all right? Do you need anything? You need some socks?
Drug overdose deaths have increased 53% since California passed Prop 47 in 2014. Theft has also exploded, with grocery and convenience stores experiencing daily attacks. Police no longer even arrest criminals because of the new law. The San Francisco Chronicle reported that Prop 47 led to more crime than if the law had never existed. California's bright light is fading. This leads to what we're seeing now. California is currently experiencing a real exodus. In 2020, the state had its first ever decrease in total population. Fewer people are moving in, and people are moving out by the thousands. A poll conducted by the Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies found that more than half of California residents are considering leaving the state. For the hundreds of thousands who do choose to leave, Texas is currently their #1 destination. Even illegal immigrants are choosing Texas over California. The Sacramento Bee reports that the illegal immigrant population in Texas is growing 5 times faster than California's. A study by the Manhattan Institute found 4 main problems are causing the flight: economic adversity, overpopulation, high unemployment rates, and the government's fiscal instability. Many of the California migrants arriving in Texas are simply fed up with what life has become on the West Coast.
What's even more surprising has been the movement of the foreign-born. Los Angeles is now losing foreign-born population. The Bay Area is pretty stagnant. Meanwhile, foreign-born population in places like Dallas is going through the roof. Up 30% in a decade.
City Journal reports that many Californians are fleeing the high cost of living as well as the exhausting policies that have come to define the Golden State in recent years. Beyond individuals, a survey of 200 executives by the Pacific Research Institute found California to be a hostile destination for businesses because of exhausting red tape and regulatory hassle. CNBC reported that at least 237 companies left California for Texas in 2020 alone. For 14 years and counting, Chief Executive Magazine ranks California as the worst state to conduct business. The #1 spot on that list? Texas. With the huge numbers of people moving in from the coasts, many Texans are concerned about how their state might be changing. There are massive cultural differences between Silicon Valley and the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, people are really worried about all folks like me moving from California.
Yeah.
Worried. They're worried about.
You know what's funny is that we come all. Give me your tired, your poor. Come on to Texas, but you got to understand something.
Yeah.
You're coming here because of low taxes and low regulation, and you want to live your life in liberty and make sure that you can protect yourself and protect your family. And that means you have to vote a certain way. And that's why we kind of are Texas.
Don't turn this place into what you fled.
That's exactly right.
When big tech companies set up shop in Texas, they bring more than jobs. In many ways, the political tendencies of Silicon Valley are transplanted into Texas. Many have been asking whether changes in cities like Austin or Dallas will impact the rest of the state, particularly the politics. While Texas is still solidly red, there have been recent trends that indicate the state might not always vote Republican. Ted Cruz, for example, won his 2012 Senate election by a wide margin, beating his opponent by nearly 16%. It wasn't as easy, though, in 2018. The margin shrank to just 2.5%. Same story on the presidential side, where the Republican edge has tightened drastically. Texas controls a big chunk of the Electoral College. If the entire state falls victim to these bad policies and turns blue, it would flip national politics on its head forever, all but ensuring that those bad policies end up everywhere. Over the past few years, there have been moments when Texas looked more like California than its usual self. Many problems that have plagued the West Coast have started to pop up in Texas. Homelessness and crime are on the rise, and the cost of living is skyrocketing in some places. Let's look at Austin again. Like San Francisco and Los Angeles, Austin has seen dramatic spikes in homelessness, increasing by 54% since 2011. What had been a growing and beautiful city is quickly turning into a dystopia. It started with tents under highways, then spread to the parks and lake. Now, homelessness is seen almost everywhere. One Austin resident said that the homeless population is encroaching on her property.
Every day we have fires, there's verbal assaults, there's the smell of drugs, there's the smell of burning plastic.
In the summer of 2020, Austin followed the lead of cities like LA and San Francisco when it announced a plan to cut the police budget by $150 million. Fox 7 reported that the number of murders for Austin in 2020 was the largest in 2 decades. And so far in 2021, the murder rate has increased by a staggering 74% compared to 2020. 6th Street had become a vibrant place to party where everyone could go out at night. Now it has to be avoided due to muggings and shootings. Californians moving to Texas are having a significant impact on life in the Lone Star State. There have been many benefits, like the surge in job opportunities from relocating businesses and increased spending at local stores and restaurants, but there are also new difficulties that are affecting daily life and safety.
People came to California to build up their lives, to build their families, to buy a house, to move forward, reinvent themselves. That's becoming harder and harder.
People are moving away from bad policies, but sometimes forget to leave them behind when they do. The Texas landscape could look very different over the next few years as waves of Californians move out in caravans of Teslas and BMWs. If this has native Texans feeling a little blue, it's for good reason.